So when I first saw HMB Longsword fighting, I didn't want to do it because I thought it was dumb. Because literally there was two guys going, right? And whoever did it faster and harder won. And it was two muscle guys, which is just dumb. It's not interesting. And just not paying attention to defense at all. Then I learned that when you get to this level, when you get to an international level, it's not like that at all. It's much more about defense and strikes. So because your defense is also your offense, once you get ahead on a point, you can essentially go full offense. So here, let's grab the foam swords for a second. So if we're, come stand here. So if we're here and we're both going, ah, no, you just hit me. Ah, no, hit me. Oh. Ah, we're both hitting each other, right?
Yeah.
Whoever's faster and stronger, or whoever has the more generous referee, because one person is counting, two people are counting his points and two people are counting my points, wins, and it's dumb. Yeah. When you get to a more elite level, you start to see this guard more, where he swings at me, I block, and as he pulls back, I get 1 point. Yeah. He swings at me, block, and I get 1 point. Right? Because the easiest point to hit is to hit the arm or the hand as he pulls back. I don't have to do anything. Under HMB rules, which I don't know what the current status is, it's been 2 points for the head and 2 points for the body and 1 point for everything else. And you can never get 2 points with a one-handed swing. So you can swing one-handed, but it has to be hard and it can only ever be worth 1 point. So you see a lot of this where they're playing a range game, and you notice I'm side here, so I can do this block real easily, and I'm already cocked to throw a blow. In the old days, everybody fought what we call middle guard right here. This is passé now. This is not the way to go. I did this for years in the SCA. I did this when I started Longsword. It is to basically fight like we're Japanese kendo, where everything is in the middle and you're chopping down, okay? And it comes down to small angles, and a lot of times the judges can't tell who hit who anyway, so it just becomes whoever is the more active fighter throws more shots wins, whether you hit or not. So switching up to a hanging guard or a fifth position guard, so I can make a clear prominent block. No, go to the same side. If you block there, strike from the same side. So go ahead, you strike at me. If you strike at me, I can go to this side.
You can just extend your
But this side is much easier. So for this close, you strike, boom, boom.
Gotcha.
If you strike, go ahead, strike again. If you strike and pull back to strike again, boom, boom. Hit my head. You're missing my head, boom, 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 boom. I was at one of the tournaments, and I probably got 14 points on a guy. Because he literally, like 14 times in a row, kept trying to do the same shot. And every single time it was bam, 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 bam. And they had to do the instant replay because the judges were thinking that he was hitting me. And it went from he won 20-19 to I won 37-10. The difference between the before the replay and after the replay.
So is it like that a lot?
It is. The judging's terrible. Yeah, so you need to make very precise, pronounced blocks that are obvious.
Right.
And very precise, pronounced hits. Hands are a legal target in HMB, traditionally or not in IMCF. I don't actually know how it's going to shake out now. I'm assuming hands are going to continue to be a target, but they may not yet. I don't really know those. And that makes a huge difference because the hands, really medievally, the hands are the #1 target in this style of fighting. If you read the actual historical accounts of tournaments, many of them end with a broken gauntlet or an injured hand, and the strikes are to the hand because the hand is the hardest thing to protect. Just like we were talking about before with gauntlets. It's much easier to break a gauntlet than it is to break any other piece of armor.
Yeah. If they can't hold a sword, they can't really protect
Exactly.
themselves.
And it's the closest target, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm reaching for your head, you can hit me anywhere. If I'm reaching for your hand, you can only hit my hand.
Yep.
Right? And that's also the defense against the leg. If you look at not armored fighting, but if you look at actual like HEMA style fighting in the manuals, there are very few leg shots. And the reason there are very few leg shots is because if I'm in range to hit you in the leg, just barely, hit me in the head. You're extend. You are 6 inches past where you need to be to hit me in the head. And I can barely hit you in the leg, right? So if you move 1 inch, you got me and I don't got you. And if you lean your body slightly forward, which you should be doing anyway, not from the shoulders, from the hips. Keep your spine straight. There you go. So now I can't hit you at all and you got me in the head. Which is why historically they didn't go for the legs very much. The only time you really go for legs is when you're in a bind and you're close.
Yeah.
Now the legs make sense because it's far away from everything else and range doesn't matter. I do a big one-handed, like we're out here, I'll do a one-handed leg like that.
Okay.
Just because with one arm I can reach it, you can't.
Right.
And like, haha, at one point, reset. Because sometimes that's all it takes. If we start a fight and it's 90 seconds, and in the first couple seconds I go boom and he doesn't hit me, it's 1-0. Boom, if I get it again, boom, it's 2-0. Now that I know it's 2-0, as long as every time he hits me I hit him back, I'm still winning. Right? So now I don't have to be conservative anymore. I can let him swing at me and I just hit him in the head. Because even if he gets 2 points, I definitely get 2 points.
Yeah.
Right? And then he swings again, I'm just going to hit him on the other side of the head. Right? And I can keep doing this all day as long as I know I'm ahead on points. If I don't know I'm ahead on points, I want to try and get a freebie without getting hit. Get a freebie without getting hit. Right? And even though the longswords aren't particularly heavy, it is completely different than a boffer sword. Right? It does take some mechanics to do it right. And what looks like what I'm doing here, it looks like wrist, but it's not. So when I do this move, that is not any wrist at all. That is my shoulder moving my arm, and I'm changing the pivot point. That is, see my elbow? This elbow is doing work. My wrists aren't doing anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My forearms aren't doing anything.
I just can't figure out how to do that in armor.
What's that?
I can't figure out how to do it in armor.
So I'm thumbing the
Weird, 'cause I
blade.
can't get my arms up.
Right, so what a lot of people try to do, and they end up hitting flat, is they hold the sword the Japanese way, like oriented to the palm.
You hold
which
it
was
flat.
what I was taught when I was a kid, right? And then when you try to do this, you have to do weird things with your wrist, and your armor can't twist that far. And even if your armor can twist that far, when you get tired, you end up doing it this way.
Flat.
And it's flat every time. Because the medieval solution to that
Just hold the
is just freaking
turn
turn the
the
blade.
sword.
Yeah, and if you hold the blade, so edge is facing your palm instead of flat is facing your palm, now all of a sudden, you're never going to get flat with these strikes. And when you're in your guard this way, all of a sudden my hands are protected. When I'm in guard this way, you can hit my hand 100% of the time. I have to do this thing, right, to try and block. Now I'm already blocked. And I can't cut this way, right, because that would be flat. I'm giving that up. But in exchange, I get this, and I get this. So I can still do a vertical attack. I just have to pick which side I'm going to. It's called a crump house. So if you get your guard, if you're in the center guard, I'll do the center guard, come closer to me. If you're in the center guard and I'm in the center guard, and we both cut like this, it's just a matter of that millimeter or two of who gets the angle.
Yeah.
Instead, if I, stay where you were, instead I thumb the blade and I cut horizontally here. Now see how I'm offline? Right? I went around his sword. And I can go around his sword the other way. And you don't necessarily know which side I'm going to. You have to pick. And when I start this motion, go ahead and block. Okay? What else does this motion look like?
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
What else does this motion look like? Right? They all start the same way as this. So if you're ready to block this, you're not ready to block this.
Yeah.
It's just better. It's better than this. In the old days, people did this, and this was your block. And then you would strike, you'd go, and then you'd pull it back.
Telegraph it.
Right? And it comes down to who's stronger and who has more endurance.
Yeah.
Or who has the better footwork to just barely get out of the way and
Get out of the
then
way.
get that snap. Okay? Instead, turn it a little bit, work the angles, right? Use your body to throw the shots instead of your hands. Another advantage to this is it gets a little bit, let me switch to this, that'll hurt you. This gets a little bit hard to understand until you actually get an arm come closer. A lot of times we end up this way, touching each other, right? So it could be because we're both tired, or because I'm tired, I want to slow them down. But a lot of times it's strategy, right? And from here, if I keep this position, I have to free my arms and then cut. I have to basically create space and then cut. Or I have to try and push through and cut, and I may or may not get the point because the judge may not like it. If I come back to me again, if I turn it the other way, now, without bringing my hands offline, I can cut it hard. And that's a hard cut.
Yeah.
Boom.
All the way
Okay.
around.
And I can do it the other side. Boom. Right? And I can go back and forth. Boom. And all the whole time, my hand never stopped being in between us. Okay, because if I throw the traditional way, in order to swing, I have to move to one side or the other. That gives him the opportunity to own the space and cut me off. And now he controls the center line, and now I'm at a disadvantage, right, from a grappling, wrestling, spatial awareness sense. As long as we're both in the middle, we both have our hands in front of us, it's 50-50, it's anyone's game. As soon as somebody else is sideways and I'm still forward, now I have the advantage. Even if he's stronger than me, I'm in a physically stronger position than him. I can hit him, I can push him, I can manipulate him. He's not in a scoring position. So by thumbing the blade and using the like Lichtenauer helicopter thing, I can do that without moving my hands out of the center line, right? And I can also go for the legs. Watch this. So here come. I can also go for the legs without actually having to disengage. Boom, and that's a hard shot too. Boom.
Yeah. You're dropping all the weight down on the
Yep.
leg.
Boom, and it's not because I'm using a lot of arm muscle. It's because the sword is traveling
Like,
180 degrees.
At that rate, you're kind of just like
And that
fall.
whole arc is acceleration, and that's what makes it a hard shot. Whereas I can throw a hard shot without any acceleration. But here, boom, right? I can make that a hard shot. But in order to do it, my hands have to be in line, and I can do it, right? Boom, right? Instead, let the weapon do the work, right? Let it make a full circle.
Big arcing.
And that's what the HEMA guys do too. That's kind of where this comes from, like from the actual manuals. It's one of the few things that we've picked up from actual medieval swordplay as opposed to like make it up as we go along. Is that they were really big on turning the sword in the hand. And the later manuals, like you get up to 1600s, and the swords are really big, and you see the guys, they're almost always this way. They're almost never this way.
Yeah.
And when you go earlier, they go back and forth. Because this obviously, if you're just trying to cleave people, obviously this is more efficient. If you're just trying to cleave people and they're not really fighting back, if you're on a horse and you're chopping people, or if you're hitting the buggy, whatever, that's great. But as soon as you get into a dual and complicated situation, this rotation is way better. Way better than a chop. And it works with gauntlets on because of the fact that, notice my wrists, I'm not actually breaking my wrists. They don't have to do this, right? Because my hands are doing the work, my fingers are doing the work, and my arms are doing the work. My wrists aren't doing the work. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on Longsword. You should do it.
About whole water.
And when I started, I had to like physically put my thumb on the blade in order to guide it so that I could do it right, otherwise I would fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, I don't actually need to thumb on the blade anymore. Yeah.
It's easy to hold.
Yeah, if you start literally plastering a flat of your thumb against a flat of blade, that's a good guide to make you do it right. And then once you get some practice, you can
yeah, that's way easier. That's way easier.
So go back to the other one. So from here, go that to there again. No, don't turn around. It's basically here. There you go.
Oh, you're doing it.
So you're rotating your wrist. Let's see how my elbow stays in a little bit. Boom, there you go. Boom, there you go.
Pivot in the.
And then pivot, yep, and then pivot. Boom, there you go.
Pivot in the sword around your other hand.
So you're not changing your grip on the sword. Let me do it.
Popping out of that.
You're not changing your grip on the sword, but watch my grip. So here's my grip. See how my grip is not changing on my sword, but I'm holding it this way.
Okay.
I'm not holding it this way.
I think I have a problem.
I'm not.
Oh, you got
I'm not
to cut.
turning.
Yeah,
No.
still,
I'm not opening
nursing
up.
a cut.
Nursing a cut.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically, by doing it this way,
Open up.
by doing it this
I
way,
think I
holding
have
the
to
pommel
get
up,
come around.
yeah, watch
Because
just
what I'm
my
doing
right
is
hand.
I do stuff like
It
this.
basically doesn't have
Where
to
I'm
do
not.
anything.
I'm not swinging the sword.
My elbow does
Right,
come
right,
out
like,
a little bit.
maybe big.
because
It looks good, but you're just not getting all the
I'm
there
not
you go,
getting
yeah.
to the
It
front.
doesn't come out that much, right?
Yeah,
And I don't have to wing it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what allows me
Yeah, it
to
does feel a little
keep
weird.
my elbows in and keep my armpits safe while I'm throwing the shot.
And the middle guard is lower or higher?
So the old classic middle
PVC.
guard is usually. Huh? I hate that. I don't like to do
What do you
that.
want to do?
So yeah. So, and I only do that. So I switched to this, and I've gotten now where people, when they see me do this, they know what's coming, and so they're ready for me to charge, right? Because if you're here and I'm here, you have slightly more range. Because this cut has more reach than this cut.
Yes.
Right? So as soon as I switch to that, that means that I want to get closer. So I try not to switch to that until later. So I either stay here.
We're dancing.
Right.
Hands
If
out,
we're dancing,
hands
I
out.
don't do this anymore. This is what I used to turn this way. Let's turn face forward. So I don't do this anymore. I do this. And actually, I usually have a left hand, so I usually do it this way. So instead of basically matching you like this, I go to this now. So you want to either cut from my hands or cut from the body. If you don't know what you're doing, which is a surprising number of people don't, you just throw your default shot to my head. And it's already blocked.
Yeah.
Like literally, I don't have to move. You'd be shocked how often people just throw that.
But if you're
Why
smart,
is
this not working?
Right, but if you're smart, you don't do that. You aim for the hands, or you aim for the body.
Body's a harder one.
So if you aim for the body, what do?
I got to get out of line.
I either step back and defend myself, or I let you hit me in the body. Go ahead, hit me in the body, and I hit you in the head. And from here, go ahead. From here, you're in a worse position than I am. Right now, I've gained the initiative. Right? Or
because I've got to free this.
Yeah, you have to free it at its low, whereas I'm ready to keep it back. Right? So do the chop. So you chop, and then I block, and you pull back. I just always go for the hand of the forearm. Right? Just my default is every time I make that block, I'm going to throw this, and most of the time their elbow's sticking out. If they're smart, they'll tuck the elbow in, but a lot of times they're not. It's the elbow every time.
So for right-hander,
so I don't do it cross-handed. So if your left hand is lead, do it on this side. If your right hand is lead, is do it on this side. There you go. So instead of here,
I always thought they weren't really that
Okay.
durable, but I mean.
So-
get that guy in.
and reach it out a little bit with me.
Yeah.
So not only are you blocking your head,
To intercept.
I have to reach over here to get your hands,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know what that is.
But also you're creating space because you're cheating out. See, like this, I'm cheating out. I can cut,
Yeah.
right? And this can be a hard shot because I've got some punching action, right?
No.
Boom, this can be a hard shot, and I've got more reach than you do.
It's either
Right?
wood or
If I start here, I don't have more reach than you,
sheet metal.
because I have to go all the way to here before I can
Yeah.
hit
Got one of them parts.
right? So cheat it out, and so don't do it cross.
Well, I mean, it's just hard to hold.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be quite that far. But definitely reach it out. There you go. That's good. But get it higher.
Mercedes or something?
Not that.
He has a bunch of this. I should get some.
You don't put your gauntlet in this. So you want to be looking under your blade and past your gauntlet. Exactly. See how I'm looking at you? Don't look at me this way.
Yeah.
Don't look at me this way. Don't look at me this way. Look at me in this little beat. And it can be here if you're tired. Right? This is okay. This is okay. This is better. This is more aggressive. This is even better. Right? So if we're at the beginning of a fight that I care about, instead of here, I'm going to be here because my legs are farther away, so they're less of a target. And I've got a much better chance of getting that first shot without getting a return. So if it's 1-0, I have the initiative. Right? And then later in the fight, as I get tired, I can start doing this.
That's weird. I do.
Now, if I go for my leg, right? Exactly.
I end up holding it like this.
Exactly.
You just
Like switch to this.
I've always been holding it like that. Yeah.
Let me have the bottom.
Yeah.
But you keep it all the time. Or not.
Punch you.
I don't care.
So have you always been into this kind of stuff? Or?
No.
Nope. Literally no prior sports experience. Was it
See, I'm still keeping my elbows in. I use it.
long fighting? Because I'd seen it before, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I think about it, of course I can. Yeah, to get into that. I'm like,
There you
look
go.
at it a little bit.
Hit my head.
And then I saw that, it's like,
Best shot is horizontal to the head. That's perfect. That is the easiest shot for the judges to go, yes. Horizontal.
I was walking out, and I saw that.
It's disorienting, and also it's obvious there was no whereas this downward shot to me and the hands over, you can't really tell.
Out on the Discord.
Boom, there you go. Now don't get your hands get off the side.
Did you
Go ahead,
guys?
keep it. You let your hands get off the side.
Yeah, last weekend, I fought a little
Do it
bit.
again.
Oh, you fought them? Oh, yeah. So I saw you over there. Yeah, I was over
Trying to
there
get
last
it
week.
there, but this
This
one's
one's
not that. So if I try to use that as
Push,
a
push, push.
Yeah, I think we were there like
See how you stay in
4 o'clock or something like
But I
that.
fought all day.
So whatever,
Yeah.
So watch me do
whatever,
that.
the fulcrum is whatever turn I like.
Correct. So watch me do it from here.
Oh, I'm sure
Two
it's
ways
hot.
I can get there. One way is to pull this back.
Which I don't know,
Now
it's
I
hard
think
to
I've given up the center line, right?
Yeah.
The other way is
Because I've done stuff in the week before. 'Cause I've been, I was working with, I want to do
maybe my team's
so I did CPAC with Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I've already dated,
Now we've got
I don't know what you're explaining, but it's you get away with this.
Right.
I feel like you're out of the 80 pound weight vest. 80 pound
It's not as restricting, but it's still like it's the same kind of.
It's the weight. Yeah, you still get the weight. It's not nearly
Do
restricted.
about 10 more,
But it's still
and then take your longsword and do it on that.
so you get tired fast.
Because I want to make sure you
You
got
usually don't fight longer than
boom. There you go.
a minute.
No, that's not even on.
Yeah.
You get breaks. If you're in the sun, you get hot.
Oh yeah, no, because like I saw. I think the first bout that we saw, some guy like almost passed out. And it was,
Yeah, probably me.
So, see, that time you move your body out.
Did someone give you
Yeah.
their water? That was my friend. Yeah, that's my friend.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm doing?
Yeah,
So
you
instead of having to
Yeah,
move so
I was
much,
passed out. That was hot.
keeping my hand.
Well, that was too because that armor I didn't warm before,
Yeah.
and I tightened it up too much. I couldn't breathe. So
How many bouts do you guys usually do? Like,
depends how many people's fighting.
yeah.
I did Sunday. I did 3 fights every time, and then I did 3 fights.
Difference? Boom. Push in. There you go. Push in. Don't rotate out.
Every show we did basically.
Boom.
So I did, but we had less people. We had
Boom. There you
five,
go. Now you got it.
we had 5 people, I think.
Okay, now, take
So
your
I did
actual
3.
longsword and put it hard on.
In the morning it was bad because it was cloudy.
Yeah.
It was alright for the second time. We got some. Then we did a couple more days. We did mostly dual Sunday though. It's fun.
So when you do right now, like construction.
All right, so that shot you just did, go back and do it again.
I've been doing it for like 5 years.
I'm gonna try to do it right this time.
How old are you?
20.
Holy shit.
Okay, so what you did the first time, but you did less that time?
My dad did.
Shrug your shoulders.
Yeah.
If it
I
worked,
was.
yeah.
That might be why my
get into it for 5
Yeah,
years.
so there's a weird thing that people do.
Don't do construction. Bad
There's a
for you.
weird thing
No,
that people do with a swing sword. I have no idea why they do it.
Or on your body.
And it might be because when people shoot guns, they do this.
Yeah, no, I fucked up
So why
my
not
way back because I did
Yeah, pick it up.
tree work for a year.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we get from the Japanese.
Oh no, it's so fucking dangerous.
These tree work's super dangerous.
Even if you less
One
your
of the
elbow,
people that
don't
I
wait
work
till
with
like
just got put into a fucking shivers.
So when you go to shot,
Yeah, because it was a girl. She was putting this branch in there with one of her
Punch it
buddies.
forward
And
and
it's
down.
like it's bent,
not
so when it pulls
lifting up.
in there, it kind of like corner her into it. So there's
and even if you want to lift it up, because that's totally
get
out
into
shot.
it, and somebody had to stop it. So she literally just like
I'm not doing it
in
with
that
my
mouth
shoulders.
of the
I met a guy the other day that had his hand up. Too bad he's missing 4 of his fingers. All 4 down
Be
to the
careful with that
knuckle.
shot because it can turn
I
into
love
a
climbing trees, but I'm good on that. I'll just
It's just scary, man. I've run a trip before.
There you go.
Because I've got a buddy that does tree work. I work with him.
Again, keep your hand on the center line.
Yeah, running trip is scary.
I only did it for years. It was just like I was.
So
I was
bend your arms.
22. No, I was 21.
Bring your body closer to your hands.
This is fucking awesome.
So you're trying to do it from here instead of
It's still, yeah. No, it's rough. That kind of works rough on you.
Yeah.
There you go. See how much easier that is?
I always wanted to do.
So again, you're still going off the side. You can punch forward and you go to that side.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So you did. This hand stayed here, and this hand over off the side. They both need to go. This hand needs to go. So that the sum of the distance between your both hands is still in mind.
I'm trying to keep one.
Okay.
They're both gonna move.
You know what counts is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Out
They're
there.
gonna rotate around each other.
Yeah, I'll live.
That way they're both on the center. Perfect. Boom. Boom. Get a little closer. Bring your hand closer to yourself. Just far enough away where you have enough room for your hand. There you go. Now do it as a circle. So hit the first one and stop. From here, instead of making a cone, which is going like this, is a cone,
Yeah. No,
make
I'm
it a
ready.
flat circle. So from here, it's going to be a perfect arc. That's how you get power, is by making the perfect arc instead of...
No. Oh, no. I'm waiting on that. I'm not going to get on it for another year or so. Probably. Like, even if I bought it, I could probably have the money.
Is it from this or is it from wrestling?
No, it's just holding it here.
Buy it. It's going to take
Working a
6
weird
to 9
muscle.
months to get.
And it doesn't have to be quite so high.
It takes a while to get over.
So I'm a little lower than you. See, my elbows kind of resting on my body. And I can go here when I need to.
You can buy used too, yeah.
But you can do it from here. So watch this. If you watch from the
You know,
side,
it's all going to get
I'm
made.
doing the same move But if you notice, my circle
And
is not
a lot of
a
it
circle
comes
this
from
way.
training brush.
It's a circle that's angled
That
out.
is
It's still a circle.
All the
And that
sports
lets
are
me keep my elbows closer to myself.
so all
And
the
the
really
closer
good
my
armor
elbows are to
smiths
me,
are in
the
your
less
training
work
brush.
it is.
So that's come out right.
I figured there'd be some kind
There you go. Rotate your
There's a
body.
couple people in Meg already.
There you go.
Does Trey make one? One of the trainers, Trey from Ashton makes over, I think.
Yeah.
of
You'll hear it resonate in the building if you do it right.
Not armor smiths. There's a difference. There's a difference. Armor smiths, it's hard to find armor smiths.
All right, how's everybody doing? Does anybody else want to have anything else they want to do? Want to cover?
I mean, I want to cover
gear up.
I
I'm
wanna
gonna try another 5 minutes without.
I don't think we brought any armor.
I don't know.
All we got
if
is
have any
Nick's
armor.
armor.
Yeah, we only have my armor.
Alright.
So when we're totally done, if people want to try stuff on just to sort of see